Here we are back with the Arrma Typhon, and it's time to try and make it better on track. At least that's the plan anyway. I've already changed the front diff fluid to a 7,000 weight. The rear is using the stock, and the center is using the stock. And the car is getting progressively noisier. And also when you're very aggressive on throttle, it really sends too much power to the front, and the front is ballooning too much on track and losing traction. So I'm going to try to thicken up the center diff with this 50,000 weight diff oil. I think it's 5, 10, 5 from the factory. I put the 7,000 in the front, and when I run a diff test, rotate both sides at opposite directions, it is noticeably slightly thicker or harder to turn than the rear. So I know that the 7,000 was thicker than stock. So we're going to put 50,000 in the center, and hopefully that makes it perform better on track. While I have it out and open, I'm going to put on a 15 tooth pinion. I've tried it on track with the 16. It was a bit too much. I've damaged the 16 tooth pinion if you saw my road drifting episode. So that pinion is destroyed, and now I'm going to put on this 15 tooth. This is a 15 tooth from an X-Max. Remove these 4 screws. That gets your center diff cover off. And now I need to remove the 5 screws that are on the bottom of the chassis so that this whole mechanism pulls off. The center drive shafts will just fall out when I do that, and then the whole unit will come apart, and I'll be able to get the diff out and change the fluid. It's very dirty from being on the track, and my protection that I've tried using is all ripped up, but it's still better than nothing, but it's looking pretty ratty and tatty now. When you run a lot on track, you do have to clean out your screws, because they get right filled with dirt, right? You can't even see them. So I've cleared out the 5 screws that I need, and I'm just going to start by taking those out now. These ones I have Loctited in place because they're in the aluminum motor housing, and they kept loosening off, so I have Loctited those down heavily, and I'll have to do that again when I reinstall it. And then these 2 on the front. Alright, all 5 screws are out now, and they are all the same length, so that's good to know. And I'm just holding everything in with this hand, holding it into the car, so now I have to flip it over. I'm going to try and do this one-handed. This is probably a bad idea. Oh, sort of did it. Heavy car. In theory, this whole thing should just lift right out. Like, that's all loose, this is all loose. Yeah, there. And then I can take this off the differential out of here. Alright, so I just wasn't pulling hard enough. You just pull it straight out and the whole bearing comes out with it. This is a center differential from the Arrma Typhon. It'll be the same for the Typhon, Centon, Kraton, Talion, pretty much all their 8th scale has a similar. It might have a slightly different size gear on it. This one's a 50 tooth, but the actual center diff cup will be the same. I'll be curious to see what's in this. I have a feeling that this is where most of my gear train noise is coming from, is from this gear diff. Alright, I think I've got them out enough. I'm just gonna lift this off. And yeah, so it's definitely more than just a grease. It looks pretty thick, actually. It's not really full. It's thicker stuff than I was expecting for stock fluid. I'll keep this in it, and I'm just going to add more. So I'm going to add more to it. That might be a bad decision, you know. Don't take this as the right thing to do. It's just what I'm trying to do. Especially since all the teeth and stuff look good, I don't really need to take it apart. This is much thicker fluid than I used in the Cheetah diff. If you watch me do that one, that was 7,000. This is 50,000. Yeah, that's the stock stuff now with a mix of 50,000. It looks pretty thick. Alright, I just kept adding more to it, so this is where it's at now. And it might be too full, but it's not completely overflowing, but there needs to be enough room for the top gear to fit. So I'm just going to try and set it on there now. Alright, I'm just going to keep going around, tighten it up. Done, back together now. I just put a lot more in it than it had by factory, thicker stuff, and harder to turn now, so that's good. The actual differential action this way is easier than it is this way. So I think it's going to have my desired effect, which is to drive more rear and front traction at the same time. Time to go back in the car. Center diff back in, I've got the motor mount back in and Loctited in from the bottom of the chassis, and now I've just installed this new pinion gear. It's huge, it's from an X-Max, that's why it's so wide. I hope it's fine, should be fine. I'm just setting my mesh now. So that's how much gap I have, and I'm just tightening it up. Like I said before, you have to use the tools that it came with because the ESC's in the way. So just tighten up your screws and set your mesh, and then do a rotation, check for binding, and we're pretty much done. Yeah, should be good. Alright, first test with the 50,000 weight center diff, and I'm going to go out with these new impact tires, see how they do. Ooh, feels better. Definitely feels better. Well, I didn't have my transponder in for that, but I can tell just by feeling it, it feels much better. A-main race, 8 scale, 50K center diff.
Just take the lead as Joe is in second.
Car 2 is done.
John, you're done. Joe, you're done.
So it does feel better, but not enough for podium.